This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 23rd day of September in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley, thanking you for joining us, and here's what we're tracking tonight. President Irfanali today drew attention to the latest action by Venezuela as it continues its claim over Guyana's Essequibo region. Speaking to world leaders at the UN General Assembly in New York today, the president said Venezuela's recent posture and actions amount to threats against Guyana.
We draw attention to the continued overt threats to Guyana's territorial integrity and sovereignty by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Just recently, an agreement was issued in Mexico City by which the contending internal factions in Venezuela renewed a baseless claim to two-thirds of Guyana's territory.
The Venezuelan government and the Venezuelan opposition recently signed an agreement reaffirming their claim to Guyana's Essequibo region. The UN General Assembly was told that Venezuela cannot defy international law and continue to threaten Guyana and sign pacts that undermine Guyana's sovereignty.
Guyana cannot be used as an altar of sacrifice for the settlement of Venezuela's internal political differences. While my government welcomes effort to bring about domestic harmony within Venezuela, agreements that defy international law and processes can be no basis for mediating such harmony.
The president also said Guyana does not promote the use of violence or threats to settle disputes. He reminded that in the 1966 agreement signed in Geneva, Venezuela consented to allow the UN Secretary General to decide on the means of settlement of the controversy.
The Secretary General decided on the International Court of Justice. Both parties are therefore bound by the court's jurisdiction and ultimate decision.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro addressed the General Assembly yesterday, and while he did not specifically address the border controversy with Guyana, he said his country has advanced peace dialogue over the last year. The border case is currently before the International Court of Justice. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say, but now that it's here, it will change life forever, and it is here to stay. The future is now, transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Strap in.
You know that it is a fact. The deal on wheels is back.
For family,
Deal on wheels.
for security,
That's a fact.
for fun.
Deal on wheels.
Republic Bank Deal on Wheels is back. With same-day approval, reduced equity, longer repayment terms, and more. Plus, 3 lucky winners would win $100,000 each. Get the ride for you at Republic Bank.
Exciting news! All 12 ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, Buster $100. Come get your Buster, Buster $100.
Let GBTI, make your dreams of owning a home a reality. Buy or build your home with us. Let us help you to completely outfit your home and make it move-in ready. Need to purchase land? We finance that too. Benefit from our 10% down payment and interest rates as low as 4.25%. Calculated on the reducing balance with up to 30 years to repay. Switch your mortgage to us and learn about benefiting from the equity in your home. Invest wisely. Apply online or call your branch to schedule an appointment. GBTI, we see Guyana through your eyes.
Welcome back. The People's National Congress Reform, which is the largest party in the opposition APNU-AFC coalition, today called on the Minister of Health to step aside if he cannot provide adequate and detailed information on the COVID-19 situation in the country, as the country faces a surge in new cases. During a PNC press conference today, Dr. Richard Van West Charles said the country is in crisis and the Minister of Health cannot just offer numbers to the population.
Dr. Anthony has been so general and evasive, and this is for this reason why we are saying that he either steps up or steps aside, because this is a serious matter. I agree that the cases are escalating, but we cannot continue as a responsible political party to witness the uninformed nature by which Dr. Anthony is answering questions when posed to him with no specificity. And when we are talking about the variants, he doesn't know, it may be so or whatever. So those are unacceptable. And if he is serious about the issue, and the ministry is serious and the government is serious, he either provides the answers to the population as we see in every other country around this world, and it is important that they do so that the citizens can make their right decisions. And if he cannot do that, he must step aside with some immediacy.
Dr. Van West Charles, who is a former PAHO country representative in Jamaica, said while the minister continues to dodge questions, the situation is getting more out of control. He said there needs to be better management, even as the government is still to confirm the presence of the faster spreading Delta variant.
Well, if we make that assumption, then one of the things which is important is an approach which brings together the adherence to the public health guidelines, a revisit of the opening of schools to ensure that the school's environment is safe, and the offices where we work in both the private and sector and public sector are safe, and that we try to reduce the vaccine hesitancy and increase vaccination.
The PNC Reform executive member said there is great distrust when it comes to the government and the population on the vaccine issue, and that must be addressed. He said the government should have taken a broader approach involving all stakeholders, but it has refused to do so repeatedly.
But we do have a problem of trust by the population, and that is why the vaccine hesitancy continues to plague us, because the government resists an inclusive approach, resists a transparent approach. It's basically asking for basic information which should be available.
The People's National Congress has put together a list of questions that it wants to be answered by the health minister to bring more clarity to the COVID-19 situation in the country. According to the opposition spokesperson on health in the National Assembly, Dr. Karen Cummings, the Minister of Health needs to come clean with the people of this nation.
This also means that Guyana is classified as having the highest level of mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are calling on Minister Frank Anthony to step aside if he cannot provide details and specific information to the following questions for the Guyanese public.
Since the 1st of September, Guyana has recorded more than 4,500 new cases of COVID-19, and this month has also seen more than 115 deaths. The opposition maintains that it is ready and willing to work along with the government to address the COVID-19 problems in the country. The government has not responded to the opposition's interest. Still with COVID-19, as several countries begin to implement vaccine requirement policies that may only recognize World Health Organization approved vaccines or vaccines manufactured in specific countries, President Irfan Ali hinted his disapproval with that position during his address to the United Nations General Assembly in New York this morning.
The access to vaccines saw the world polarized. I know I speak on behalf of many leaders when I say that we must not now hurt our efforts at ending this polarization of access to vaccines by implementing measures that divide us and curtail our movement based on the type of vaccines our people took.
Guyana has been largely using Russia's Sputnik V vaccine, which is yet to get a green light for emergency use by the World Health Organization. The president said the type of vaccine should not be of much concern, but vaccination must be focused on full vaccination and addressing vaccine hesitancy.
Millions took the vaccines which were available at a time of much uncertainty, and they are the unsung heroes. They must not now be the subject of restrictions based on the vaccines they took.
President Ali said Guyana is pleased with the actions that are being activated to ensure equitable distribution of vaccines.
Similarly, we welcome the fact that earlier this month, the heads of the International Monetary Fund, World Bank Group, World Health Organization, and the World Trade Organization met with the CEOs of leading vaccine manufacturing companies to discuss strategies to improve access to COVID-19 vaccines in low and low-middle income countries and in Africa.
And the president also used his speech at the UN General Assembly to talk up access to financing for small and developing states. He said the financing is needed for them to rebound from the impact of the pandemic. The president said poor and developing countries have and will suffer longer from the impact of COVID-19.
My government restates its call for increased resources to be made available to states on the basis of their vulnerabilities and not only based on a misleading measure of per capita income.
The president also said if such measures are not taken, growth will not be restored in developing countries, nor will economic and social policies be realigned along the path set out for 2030. Guyana is one of the few countries in the world expected to see economic growth this year. Well, the Minister of Health gave the green light today for the scanning and lamination of the vaccination booklets. He said a copy of the booklet will be acceptable once the information is clear and matches the identity of the person carrying the card. With the vaccination policy in place for access to public buildings, many citizens have started to copy and laminate their vaccination booklet to make it easier for them to carry around. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, said there is no problem with that move.
But we also understand the challenges people face with walking around with this big card. And if it's not laminated, then it can easily get damaged. So we have been flexing a little bit, but you must also present it so that you can see the particulars of the person on one side and what is inside the card. Now, some people have been able to do that quite nicely, so you can see whether the person got a first dose, second dose, and so forth. If you are able to do it in that way, then it helps. But if it's just laminating it and just part of the information is being shown, then the person who you're showing it to might have doubts whether it's an authentic card or not. So, you know, if you can do it where all the relevant information is on display, I think that's acceptable.
Minister Anthony said persons who are still unvaccinated need to get vaccinated to protect themselves and loved ones against the virus. He said the majority of the persons hospitalized with COVID-19 are unvaccinated. This weekend, the Ministry of Health will be hosting another vaccination drive at the National Stadium at Providence to offer vaccines to adults and also for children. 68% of Guyana's adult population has already received a first dose of one of the COVID-19 vaccines. The Police Office of Professional Responsibility has completed its investigation into the police shooting death of Essequibo businessman Orrin Boston during a SWAT team operation a week ago. In a statement last evening, the Guyana Police Force announced that the file has now been sent to the chairman of the Police Complaints Authority for review. Once it's reviewed, it is then sent on to the Director of Public Prosecutions for advice. A member of the SWAT unit remains under close arrest over the shooting death. As family members prepare to bid their final goodbye to the popular young businessman, they continue to cry out for justice in the case. The dead man's wife said she and her husband were in their bed when the police burst into their room. She said her husband was shot in his sleep, and his only response was a single groan after being hit. A post-mortem examination found a bullet lodged in the man's body. He died from that single gunshot. The family continues to press for a full independent investigation. There are also calls for the entire operations of the SWAT unit in the Essequibo region last week to come under investigations. After the incident, the police claimed that the unit was on an anti-crime operation and had also arrested 2 other men in 2 separate raids on the same night. Last week, the police said the 2 men who were arrested were suspects in a robbery and murder. Last evening, the police announced that both men have since been released without being charged for any crime. They now have to report to the police in the area regularly as investigations roll on.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, Buster $100. Come get your Buster, Buster $100.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, the slow pace of vaccination in most Caribbean countries is being fingered as a major impediment to the recovery of Caribbean economies from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The chief economist at the Barbados-based financial technology company BIT Incorporated, Marla Ducaran, says region-wide recovery will depend largely on overcoming the significant level of COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the region. The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, reports that up to the 13th of September, with 1.7 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 infections in the region, nearly 17.5 million persons have been vaccinated. Vaccine take-up, however, differs greatly between countries, from a low of 0.3% in the case of Haiti to 75.2% in the case of the Cayman Islands. Among members of the regional bloc, the Caribbean Community, the highest rate of vaccination is 46% in the case of St. Kitts and Nevis. The Economist was participating in a recent roundtable discussion of the Arthur Lugjack Global School of Business in Trinidad, and she noted that Dutch-speaking Aruba suffered the worst economic dislocation from the pandemic, since that island has the greatest dependency on tourism among Caribbean nations. St. Lucia, followed by Barbados, the Bahamas, Suriname, Grenada, and Jamaica were cited as the other countries most severely affected in terms of economic contraction as a result of COVID-19. In neighboring Trinidad and Tobago, the health minister there, Terence D.L. Singh, has admitted that the majority of people who have so far refused to become vaccinated against COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago are from the Christian faith. Making the disclosure during the Ministry of Health's media briefing yesterday, as he responded to questions, the Minister of Health said the bulk of people who seem to be vaccine hesitant are Christians. Claiming that he had been taken aback after hearing a Christian pastor on a radio station discouraging persons from being vaccinated, the minister said his fear is that what is happening is behind the scenes. In recognizing the vaccine hesitancy among the population, the Minister of Health said the Ministry of Health had changed its communication strategy and now had a new slogan of "Don't delay, vaccinate today." In late August, Roman Catholic Archbishop in Trinidad, Jason Gordon, urged people to stop listening to misinformation as he pleaded with citizens to get vaccinated to save Trinidad and Tobago from social and economic ruin. And finally tonight, international news. The United States Special Envoy for Haiti has resigned in protest over the deportation of Haitian migrants. The decision to return migrants fleeing an earthquake and political instability was inhumane, the senior diplomat Daniel Foote said in a damning letter. Last weekend, the U.S. started deportation flights from a Texas border town where about 13,000 migrants had gathered under a bridge. They have been waiting in a makeshift camp in temperatures as high as 37 degrees Celsius. Local officials have struggled to provide them with food and adequate sanitation. Since Sunday, the U.S. has returned to Haiti 1,401 migrants from the Texas camp on the border with Mexico. In his resignation letter, the official said Haiti was a collapsed state that simply cannot support the forced infusion of thousands of returned migrants lacking food, shelter, and money without additional avoidable human tragedy. The White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki responded in a press conference and said a special envoy had ample opportunity to raise concerns about immigration during his tenure. She said he never once did so. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.